Hey everyone, welcome to the open question. It's a pattern we've seen over and over again. Someone promises order, stability, and greatness. They rise from the shadows of uncertainty, and in their hands, they don't just hold political slogans, they hold scripture. Whether it's in the form of holy books, symbols, or alliances with religious institutions, one thing becomes clear very quickly. Religion is not just a belief system. In the hands of the powerful, it's a tool. And for authoritarians, it's one of the most effective ones. Authoritarian regimes often thrive in moments of social breakdown, fear, and moral panic. These are the exact conditions where people crave certainty. Religion is ready-made for that. It offers clear answers, absolute truths, and a framework of good and evil. When political figures latch onto these systems, they don't need to invent authority. They borrow it. They wrap themselves in sacred language and become, to their followers, more than leaders. They become chosen. Look at history, and you'll find this strategy is hardly rare. Franco in Spain, Mussolini in Italy, Hitler in Germany, and more recently, leaders in modern-day theocratic states have all recognized the same thing. Religion doesn't just guide hearts. It organizes them. It creates tribes. And once those tribes form, loyalty becomes stronger than logic. Questioning the leader starts to feel like questioning the divine. And that's the dangerous part. When religion merges with politics, the leader becomes untouchable. Criticize them. And you're not just being disloyal. You're sinful. You're wicked. You're the enemy. It's no longer a disagreement. It's heresy. That shift is what allows authoritarianism to harden into something worse, a cult. In many cases, the religious infrastructure is already in place. The temples, the weekly gatherings, the texts that everyone is taught to revere since childhood, all of it becomes ready-made machinery for ideological control. Authoritarians don't need to build a propaganda machine from scratch. They simply step into a pulpit and speak the language people already trust. Even in countries that are technically secular, this pattern still appears. Politicians use vague spiritual references, prayer breakfasts, divine missions. They don't even have to be religious themselves. All they need is the performance. As long as they echo the right phrases, God, family, tradition, morality, they can gather a loyal base that sees their authority as part of something eternal. What's more effective than fear of punishment? Fear of damnation. If breaking a law gets you arrested, people might take the risk. But if breaking a political rule is reframed as defying God, that fear becomes much deeper and more permanent. That's how religion stretches authoritarian power beyond the physical realm, into people's minds, into their guilt, their sense of duty, their very identity. You see this in the way religious authority is used to silence dissent. Critics of the regime are labeled not just unpatriotic, but ungodly. Protesters are not just rebels. They're described as enemies of the faith. This weaponization of morality allows regimes to justify brutal crackdowns. Violence becomes righteous. Oppression becomes salvation. And obedience becomes holy. In countries with state-backed religions, this becomes even more extreme. Religious leaders are appointed not because of their scholarship or piety, but because of their loyalty to the regime. Their sermons become policy briefings. The lines blur completely. Religion no longer checks power, it serves it. And the people caught in the middle are taught that questioning any of it is a fast road to punishment, if not in this life, then in the next. This dynamic also explains why so many authoritarians target education, especially history and science. Independent thinking is dangerous. Questioning facts is the first step to questioning dogma. That's why some regimes rewrite school textbooks, shut down universities, or replace academic leaders with political loyalists. They understand that controlling the story means controlling the future. And religion, with its mythic past and emotional pull, offers the perfect story. It doesn't just talk about laws or policies, it offers purpose. That's what makes it such a seductive tool. It creates a feeling that the current leader, no matter how flawed, is part of a sacred timeline. That opposing them means interrupting a divine plan. And when people believe that, they'll accept almost anything. One of the reasons this tactic works so well is because religion already thrives on hierarchy. There's the divine, then the prophets, then the clergy, then the followers. It's not democratic. It's not about open discussion. It's about obedience, discipline, and reverence. So when someone steps into that structure and declares themselves the defender of the faith, or worse, the voice of the divine, they automatically inherit that hierarchy. It's a shortcut to unquestioned power. Even in societies that don't identify as deeply religious, this mechanism still sneaks in. Think of how political figures are often spoken of in messianic terms: saviors, redeemers, warriors for the truth. It's not just metaphor, it's strategy. It taps into the same part of the human mind that religion speaks to: the need to belong, the hunger for certainty, the comfort of believing that someone, somewhere, has the answers. And those answers always come at a cost. Authoritarians don't just ask for votes, they ask for faith. And once they have that, logic no longer matters. Facts become irrelevant. Policies become sacred rituals. Loyalty is demanded not because of competence or vision, but because the leader has been framed as morally correct. And morality, under this system, becomes whatever the leader says it is. There's also the role of fear. Not just fear of divine punishment, but fear of outsiders. Religion helps authoritarians draw a clear line between us and them, between the righteous and the wicked. That division allows leaders to create scapegoats. Minorities, immigrants, unbelievers, anyone outside the dominant religious group becomes a convenient enemy. And once the population is united against a common enemy, they stop looking inward. They stop questioning their own leaders. They turn their attention outward, where the leader directs it. History has shown how effective this is. In Iran, in Saudi Arabia, in North Korea's cult-like regime, even in democratic societies when populists rise, religion or religious-style belief is often at the center. It's the glue that binds followers to leaders in a way that outlasts elections, policy failures, or even scandals. People don't just support the leader, they sanctify them. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of this is how effective it is long-term. Once this fusion of religion and power takes root, it becomes self-sustaining. Children grow up learning that obedience is sacred. Schools reinforce it. Media reflects it. And after a generation or two, it no longer even feels like authoritarianism. It just feels like tradition. This is how oppression becomes invisible. When religion props up power, and power protects religion, the system becomes nearly impossible to question from the inside. Dissenters are punished. Critics are silenced. And the public, even when they suffer, are told their suffering is holy. It's not just dangerous, it's strategic, and it works. If you want to understand why authoritarianism keeps rising, even in the modern world, look at what it's aligning itself with. In many places, it's not tanks or soldiers that are the front line of control. It's belief. It's ritual. It's the silent agreement that faith must not be questioned, and that power, when it wears the robes of religion, must not be challenged. And that's the real danger. When political leaders dress their power in the language of the divine, they don't just demand obedience, they demand worship. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.